It's finally here, y'all. MLB 21. It's finally time to start reviewing the MLB The Show, which they're calling feature premieres now, which were the streams of previous years. So this is a put together clip that kind of goes over everything. We've already watched this live, twitch.tv/Spore. Come through and check it out. But now we get to go step by step, pause it, talk a bit about what we just saw. Lots to digest in the very first one here. You're going to hear Ramon kind of go through stuff. We can speed through some of the preamble, though, and get to what we're going to talk about here. Game style, gameplay styles, hitting and pitching, PAR, which is the perfect pitching, pinpoint pitching, which is the new style, better practice, and more, which includes a legend reveal, which, if you're seeing this on YouTube, you probably have already seen who the legend is. But let's get into this here.
We're going to find out pinpoint pitching and a few little surprises. So, Kyle, please introduce yourself to the people.
What is going on, everybody? I am absolutely pumped to be here. Excited to talk about the hitting and pitching improvements to
Can you guys hear the stream all right?
And welcome all our new users to MLB The Show 21 as well.
That's right. And some of the things we're going to be talking about today is specifically designed for new users. So this is the first of 6 total feature premiere episodes. Today's pitching and hitting. Next week, we're going to be talking about fielding. But let's get back into it. Let's talk about gameplay style. So, Kyle,
I know it's not till next week, but complete fielding overhaul is really interesting. Doc, how you doing, bud?
we are looking at the gameplay style screen.
So this was really interesting. I'm just going to kind of let them get into it, but you might have seen this. This was in one of the little video clips with the coach and Tatis. And we all kind of saw it, and we had our own ideas about it, but they go a little bit more in detail here, and it's really interesting stuff.
This is the first screen you're going to see when you boot up the game, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we have a new way to select your gameplay styles, your difficulties, and favorite teams. And the video that you guys are taking a look at will show you that new process as well. So you're going to hop in, set your gameplay style first. And if you take a look, we got casual, easy, fun, pick up and play experience, emphasis on learning the game. We want you to go in there, have a good time, freely experiment with all our interfaces and new features without feeling too much stress. Simulation, our authentic MLB experience that plays true to player and team ratings with a combination of user input as well. You know, and this is what you guys are used to, our authentic experience.
Yeah, that's generally
grind
what
on
we
in
have.
Franchise. Pretty solid right there. And competitive, user stick skills reign supreme, and our online head-to-head default. And we're doing our best to make sure no randomness, no exploits, no spammable interfaces, anything like that in that setting.
Right. So let's take an even a deeper dive there. So it's not just you're picking how you want to play the game. Like casual serves 2 purposes, right? That's where your onboarding is, and it's a funner experience. And what's really important here, especially with casual and competitive, they did not exist before this year. The engine on the back end actually changes if you pick these 2, right,
Oh.
Kyle?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, Ramon. You can kind of think of gameplay.
That's the big change right there, is that the engine changes on the back end about how the game's going to play against you. So it's not just about, like, you know, casual being kind of rookie and getting in and feeling it out. The game changes, and they're going to get more into that.
Play styles as a difficulty.
Yeah, you did say funner. It is more fun, but apparently funner has been accepted as a word. I think enough people just said it that they went ahead and put it in the dictionary as non-standard.
Except what we're adjusting here is the AI tuning, balance, and scaling for things
I don't
like
know if Char's coming
bunts,
back in
check
or not
swings,
right now,
contact swings, and steals.
We'll hide that.
You know, and so what we did there with the casual mode is we wanted the feeling of less stress while still learning baseball and understanding the baseball concepts. So an example I can give you is if you have a fast runner on first, maybe they've stolen 2 or 3 bases that game, you know, that pitcher's going to want to pick over, keep that guy in check. You know, and as a new user, we don't want you to feel that stress. We want you to be able to take a lead and learn how to steal, learn how to take those bases. So that's kind of the stuff that we're trying to do. A good way to think about it is the CPU is not trying its hardest to beat you. You can fool around and the CPU won't be spamming to counter your play. So it's really a theme of just less stress there with that casual setting.
Right. So simulation has always been in the game, and simulation has always been like a 50-50 split between user stick skills and player ratings. But what's new this year, and this should make the competitive online crowd very happy, is that competitive, it's not 50-50, right?
No, sir, not anymore. We tried to put pretty much everything we could on the user, from check swings now to your inputs on the pitching.
And they're going to get more into that. So now you don't have to worry so much or feel like the ratings are doing more of the heavy lifting on things. When we're online and we're in competitive, it's you, man. It's you. And that's, we already see some of that, obviously, right? Like so many of us have great numbers with like Kyle Schwarber and Jock Peterson and all of our favorite bronzes and silvers and even commons. Some of y'all have some beastly commons out there. Shouts to Derek Fisher. And that's because, we can influence that. We're still playing with those cards. It's going to another level now, though. And that's going to be great. I mean, that's what people want. They want their stick skill to drive it. Obviously, no matter how good of a swing you put on something, if you have a pitcher, you can't hit a home run all the time because it has to play. The power has to determine how far the ball goes. But at least in terms of your inputs, that's what's driving things.
Meter, we try to widen that gap between good and bad input. We have our strict rules in there to prevent exploits and spamming, reducing all randomness with wind off, limiting those fielding errors that you would see, and especially those punishments with when you're trying to bring in pitchers from the bullpen with low energy. They're gonna fail the closer they get to zero. We really want you to have to pay attention as much as you can to baseball strategy.
So those are gameplay styles, and now we are jumping into difficulty levels. So Kyle, let's talk about dynamic difficulty and any other difficulty changes that will be taking place in MLB The Show 21.
Yeah, so a new addition to the game selecting your difficulty this year is the ability to choose your difficulty, All-Star Hall of Fame, and then be able to dynamically set it from there. So, in a lot
This is great because a lot of people don't want to start dynamic because it starts you at the very beginning and you're just pummeling the computer for the first few levels if you're generally, like a 600, 700s player. Even that, unless you're like, honestly, even if you're a lower, like 300-400s player, you're still killing the computer at those first couple levels. So now you can get to where you want to be and then go dynamic from there. Say you're all-star, but you're a little bit better, but you're not quite Hall of Fame. Well, then just start all-star and go dynamic and go from there.
situations, and speaking from just personal, I'm like hovering between All-Star, Hall of Fame, and I never know exactly where to go. So I set All-Star, but I think I'm too good. I set Hall of Fame, I get beaten. Now I go All-Star, Dynamic, and then I can watch myself progress up to Hall of Fame, or maybe unfortunately move down to veteran.
You know you're a veteran player, man. We're all friends here.
GT, thank you so much for the resub. I appreciate that.
We're all friends here. So that's new. So that is gameplay styles. Those are the changes to dynamic difficulty and difficulty level. Remember, if you're picking up the game for the first time, especially for our Xbox fans, you're probably going to want to just choose dynamic.
Yeah, just start from the very beginning.
What up, Ty? Create a difficulty level personalized for you to help you learn and get better at the game. Or you could just, start on legend and get crushed
the
by
sad
CPU.
emoji.
It's all up to you. The choices in your hands. All right. So we've talked about gameplay styles. We've talked about difficulty levels. Now let's talk about pitching and hitting. But before we do, let's jump into some gameplay and let's talk about
this is huge right here, y'all.
A community contentious topic. We've made some changes at check swings. Kyle, what are those?
So yeah, you got it right, Ramon. We spent quite a bit of time and effort improving check swings for MLB The Show 21. We want that check swing animation to match user input as much as possible, and we made a number of changes this year that we feel do just that. So we fixed some general issues with the animation-based system that we have by putting in some upper and lower limits. So essentially that means fewer borderline check swings, more early, more late. We found out we were being pretty generous with that check swing call, and we got more generous.
Check swing Charlies drive me nuts, man.
As the year progressed. So, we made adjustments there. We also, to I think everyone's satisfaction, removed discipline completely from the equation and a few other rules that were making that check swing result in.
Now that's massive, right? They take discipline out. I really didn't mind that discipline was in. What made it difficult was when the animation doesn't match the result. And, if you're using Joey Votto and he's got a 125 discipline and it looks like he went, but they don't call it, I could reconcile that because of his discipline rating, and those just weren't syncing as well. But this is inherently and unquestionably better to do it like this and put it all on the stick skill. So I am completely here for this. Discipline will still matter for like quick counts things. And the bat still goes. Okay. But Darren, have you ever seen check swings in real life? Because that happens in real life too. Like the judgment isn't going through the zone; it's like breaking your wrists. It's like there still has to be there is still like some subjectivity, some sort of like 50-50 to it. They're trying to eliminate some of that because right now it was definitely on the wrong scale. Like it was on the wrong end of the scale where it was just way too friendly and you could just do it a million times, like every damn thing. But there is no point. Yeah, discipline affects quick counts. If you put a bunch of guys in with excellent discipline and vision, your quick counts are going to be better inherently. Now, you're not going to get 3 O's and 3 1s every single time, but if you favor that on a quick count event, you favor discipline and vision, you will get better counts, guaranteed.
Inconsistent.
Right, so removing discipline from the equation for our new fans
We got you,
that might
Jamer.
not be too familiar with the game, let's break that down. A player's discipline rating would influence your ability to check or not to check. So we've taken that out the game and now it's 100% on the user, correct?
Yep, 100% user can.
And I'm okay with that. Again, I didn't mind that a better disciplined guy could check more, but I'm completely fine with just putting it on the user. If you can't do it, fine. You can't do it.
Controlled, and that's going to really be important as you're playing in that competitive setting.
Now, I think, now what I would like to ask as a follow-up, are they just talking about competitive? If you're doing simulation offline, does the discipline rating come back in? I don't know. I'm guessing no, based on the sweeping nature with which they're saying it, but I don't know for sure.
Personally, I don't know how much a check swing you can train yourself. I mean, I'm sure there's some people out there that think they can do it. I'm terrible at it myself. I don't think you're very good either, too, Ramon. So
Get roasted,
maybe it's
Ramon.
a trained skill, and if it is,
You also garbage.
People that are going to get really good at this. So that's what we wanted to do. Put it on you guys.
I'm a check swing king, man. I don't know what you talking about. All right, so we talked about gameplay styles, pitching, check swing. Speaking of swings, hitting. So we're going to pull up a little graph here, and this is going to show you the very vast majority of swings from the totality of MLB Show 20. We're talking billions upon billions of swings. And as a development team, we were really satisfied with how the hitting engine shaped out throughout the totality of the year. Is that correct, Kyle?
Yeah, you're spot on with that assessment, Ramon. We went into
These are the exit velos.
Sure that
Hang on, I can go back and pause on those. So this is exit velo by hit type. And this checks out with what you want.
The hitting engine shaped out throughout the totality.
And then exit velo by the timing. And again, this is the scale that makes sense.
Of the year.
And then a big number is about to come up too.
You're spot on with that assessment, Ramon. We went into 20 making sure that perfect contact grading was hovering around.
Okay, so now here's a big thing. And this is where I think we as a community miss a little bit. Now, please do not take this as hitting's perfect, shut your mouth, never complain. That's not what this is. But if a perfect is an 843 average, that means 16 out of every 100 are going to be outs. When you do like a 4-hour stream session, you might get 100. So you're going to have, you probably get 50. Like, I don't know what the number is. We'd have to count. But if you get 50, okay, that's going to be 8 that go. You're going to remember all 8. But if you do play a long stream session, you get 16, or some streamer that you're watching, 16 are going to go for outs. But we never think about the day when he gets like none for outs either. And so obviously there can be samples, and that's just on average. There can be a sample where 25 of 100 go for outs on perfect because things just aren't breaking your way that day. But then there's another day where 96 of the 100 go for hits. And I think we really don't appreciate that 84% is a giant number and is very good, but that there's still going to be perfect outs. I understand, and they're going to hit on it. Perfect foul balls. That is maddening, beyond maddening. And losing a game on a perfect hit is maddening too. But it's not out of the realm of possibility. I really think that a lot of the contentiousness about perfects and how messed up they are is just a lack of understanding of statistics, if I'm being honest. Like, I'm sorry, like probabilities and understanding averages and samples, I just don't think that's the community's strong suit as a whole. You're going to start documenting? I mean, you can, but this is what you're going to come up with if you do a big enough sample. If you just do a single day, it could be 75. Like, you could hit 750. On another day, you could hit 910. But that's why you have to get a big enough sample. This is over the 8 billion swings. These are the numbers that they come up with. You know, good. We get pretty upset about goods, right? We're on the wrong side of good. It's only a barely better than coin flip opportunity. So I think when you see these numbers, this should really put into context how hitting probably isn't as broken as a lot of people think. I'll just say that. And again, I'm not saying that there's nothing to be fixed. They worked on things. They're fixing things. So do not take this as shut up and never complain. Or even gripe. You can gripe when a perfect goes for an out. That sucks. It's a bummer, dude. It's an absolute bummer when you're trying to come back in a BR game when you're 7-0 or something. Like, I get that. I'm not saying never be bummed out by that. But understand that is part of the game. Like, perfects can't be 1,000%. Like, you can't hit 1,000 on them. Like, that'd be stupid. Yeah, you literally will not get a better sample than this. It's 84% that you're going to get a hit. That's a very high percentage, but there's a lot of times that you're going to make it out. When you think about how much we play, those of us who are in here right now who are still playing, which is the bulk of us, if you guys are here, I'm sure some of you are getting back into it after taking off the winter or whatever. The volume with which we've played, we have so many perfect outs because we have thousands of batted ball events, which means we have hundreds of perfects. And maybe even thousands in a lot of cases, especially those of you who are really good. So this is very, very instructive on expectations and where we should be with everything.
850, and through the course of the cycle we maintained that average throughout, and we were really excited about that. With good timing, good contact, we're above 500. And most importantly, I think the weak and okay contact.
Yeah, Mr. T, a lot of people do. And what I'm saying is, like, it's the type of complaint that I'm trying to adjust. Being bummed that you didn't get a hit on your great result because it cost you a game. I get that. You got loads of them on my stream that you can find and show me. I get that. That's fine. Having that happen and then saying hitting's broken, fuck this game, that's where you lose me.
Are not being rewarded close to as highly as they used to be in the past.
That's true too, Jamir.
Those numbers are around 230 for okay and just above 120 for weak. We're really happy and excited with the way that we separated the contact grades, and they fall kind of right in line with what we're looking and our expectations for those.
All right, and so again,
so this is pretty interesting too here. The percentage of homers being 16%. I would have thought it was a bit higher, to be quite honest. I would have thought it was flipped with the doubles. But again, this is, you know, game wide.
we're never satisfied. We will, when the game comes out, we will be working. We will make changes based off of the data and the feedback because we're always listening. But that didn't mean we didn't make some changes. Didn't we touch on foul balls?
We did touch on foul balls. We made our
this is big too.
Foul balls 99+%.
This was a complaint I could agree with 1,000,000,000%. Because it was at 98% that perfects would go fair. And that 2%, like that's too much. I agree that if they're going to be outs, okay, but they should almost never go foul. And now it's 99 plus. So you'll get one, and somebody will still clip one and be like, see, they said 99 plus, not understanding that we're still going to have some random one-offs, but they should be much fewer and further between.
It's fair now. You know, they were at 98.
Yeah, this
so
is frustrating on every level.
Little things like that, always looking to find those ways that we can improve our features that we've added in.
All right, so that is pitching, hitting, and gameplay styles. All right, Kyle, we're going to talk about par. What is par? Why is par? I think I know why par is. One of the biggest pieces of feedback we heard all year was when I'm pitching.
All right, this is huge here. Hang on, let me turn up my ring light a little bit, or my key light. Sorry.
Online or offline, and I get what I think is a perfect meter, a perfect input, the ball goes nowhere where I want it to. Now, granted, pitches aren't super duper accurate, but some are. You know, we got some guys out here dealing in the major leagues. Not everybody's Greg Maddux,
Sure.
we know that. But was Par put in the game to deal with this feedback?
Absolutely, Ramon. You know, we want to set expectations for our user, and Par perfect accuracy region, it does exactly.
I understand why they called it this. They're going to get into it. This is probably the most exciting thing about the stream for me. They could have just called it perfect pitching, to be honest. Doc, you almost nailed it.
Exactly that. So the most important thing that you guys are going to want to know about Par is that it represents the area that your ball can go when you execute your pitching mechanic perfectly. It's offered with analog, meter, and pinpoint pitching, and the goals behind Par is really just the awareness of the differences in pitch interfaces, the differences in pitchers, the differences in difficulties, and just the expectations for a perfect result, which we weren't doing before. Par is affected by your energy, your confidence. Your curveball in the first won't look like your curveball in the
Now, I am front and center with my issues with pitching this year, so do not get me wrong on that. But we did not take energy and confidence into effect enough when we complained about some of our stuff. The overall pitching I thought was broken this year. I really did. I didn't think it was fair enough. And that's what they get into with this. So I think SDS agreed with us that there was something wrong. But on like some individual things that you might see clipped and put on Twitter or whatever, it's like, hey, dude, your guy was in the red energy-wise, and his blue confidence was one shred. What did you expect to happen? You know, and that wasn't that I don't want to straw man like a small minority, but I do think we didn't pay enough attention to this. And this is important in BR too. We talk about how it's a homer fest, and we make jokes about, a pitcher comes in and in the midst of his first pitch, he gets tired. It's like, yeah, that's why it's really difficult to kind of run them into the ground, because you're cutting into their accuracy and their ability every pitch that you throw. But this perfect accuracy region is freaking awesome. I can't wait to get into it here.
The cool things that it does in Road to the Show is it highlights your progression, and it also gets to show off the perks and quirks that particular player has. So that's awesome. That's pretty awesome.
Right. So we're basically
Perks
like
and
as you pick your pitch, there's a little shadow around the ball, and what this is displaying to the end user, input is perfect. This ball will land somewhere within this region.
Yep, you got it right.
Okay.
It's perfect for pitch strategy and helping you locate pitches in the zone and on the black. Now that you have an expectation for your perfect result, it will definitely help you.
See, this is great, right? So, one thing I'd always have a problem with is say I put the ball, the actual ball, on the line of the zone, and I dot it. I'll be like, well, why didn't it go there? Why was it kind of fat? Well, let's say it was like the fifth inning of a start, so this zone would be a bit bigger because he'd be tiring. And if it hit the top end of that perfect zone, that's still a pretty fat pitch. So with a curveball specifically, and they talk a lot about curveballs when they get into the Blake Snell thing too, I would take the ball with this shadow right here, with this shadow zone, I would take the ball, I'd put it out of the zone to where only the upper third, so everything above the ball, that little half circle, only that is in the zone. Because I don't really want curveballs in the zone anyway. You just want them to lunge at it. You want them to be fooled by it. You don't really want to put too many in the zone. So knowing this would definitely change things. And again, seeing that it's going to get bigger as the game goes on. Okay, now you want to execute a curveball in the seventh, and you're on pitch 108. That's probably going to be pretty big. So then you put that shit on the ground basically, so that your perfect zone might just barely touch the top of the bottom of the strike zone, I should say. And again, you still have to execute, but we all know that executing perfect pitches this year did not give you the results that you deserved. That's just plain and simple the truth. They acknowledge it, and that's why they've made so many good changes here.
That zone. And so when we take a look here at some of these images, you can see that the pinpoint
exactly
on
right
fastball on your rookie is essentially a pinpoint. It's almost impossible.
Yeah, so this is a rookie fastball here, and you see how small that zone is. If you hit perfect, you're going to put the ball exactly where you want it. Of course, that's on rookie. You'll see as it gets bigger and everything, and the different pitches. And of course, this is also going to really help crystallize the scaling of a guy's pitch in terms of the X pitch being their very best and then the R1 pitch being their worst. it's going to be reflected in those shadow zones too. And I think that's another thing that we as a community don't grasp well enough. We think if a guy's got a sinker, his sinker's going to act like everybody else's. Let me pitch it. Well, if it's his fourth or fifth pitch, it's kind of a shit pitch. And so it's starting at shit from the jump. You know, if it's their fifth offering, and then you're deeper in a game where he's already a little bit tired, now it's really down here, and you have to really be careful with it. And so that is, again, I'm not giving them a pass on pitching this year. I thought it was inexplicably too difficult and did not work the way it should have. But there are a few things that we can learn as a community to understand why our pitches do what they do, and this is going to help crystallize that.
To see if we were to zoom in on it. And
yes.
There's not much.
Yes, data 5. This is perfect pitches too. So if you miss and you're not perfect, the zone is opened up. It can go a lot of different places. That is a good call out. We have to remember that.
Difference between that curveball on rookie either. So those are pretty tiny accuracy regions and obviously expected on the rookie level.
Right.
And then you go take a look at that fastball on legend and you can definitely see that your accuracy is a little bit bigger and obviously way bigger on that curveball. A little bit more difficult to throw. And you know, it's even important to note that a curveball doesn't need to necessarily land in that zone to be an effective pitch. Mm-hmm. The whole point of an off-speed pitch is to mix and speeds and catch that batting user, you know, off balance.
Right, and this really goes back to, I'm playing MLB The Show 20. I choose a curveball. I'm putting it in the dirt, and my input looks like it's almost perfect, and I end up hanging that curveball. Now, if I get that perfect input, that ball is going to fall within the region of
where
that
I
shadow,
want.
Correct?
Yep. Yes, sir. 100%.
That's huge.
And that shadow is going to shrink and grow based off the pitcher, the pitching interfaces I'm using, the difficulty that I'm playing on, how much energy he has, how much confidence he has in that pitch. So you're going to see that shadow shrink and go throughout the game, and as I go through different pitches, correct?
Absolutely. And you know, that just highlights and really helps you with pitching strategy. It does so many cool and unique things that it's probably one of my most excited features to get in the game.
Yeah,
awesome. We are looking at Blake Snell's pitches. So Kyle, what are we looking at?
So yeah, like you said, we got Blake Snell's 1 through 4 pitches, and just a little bit of information here. A pitcher's number 1 pitch type is normally way better than their 4th or 5th pitch type. You know, every pitcher.
And this gets into what I was saying. Actually, Ty, no, it's not. But more on that momentarily. Meter is not irrelevant. Something else may become, maybe going the way of the dodo bird. But yeah, this is. I mean, they're getting into what I was talking about the pitches, their quality of pitches. You see the fastball. It's again, you want smaller the better, because that's going to be in that tighter range of where you put it when you execute.
Is different. And it's possible for some.
Okay, there you go, Ty. Yeah,
others,
it's analog.
They'll definitely vary between 1 through 4. So in these images, you can see Blake Snell's fastball has a pretty tight little perfect accuracy region, which is phenomenal and what you can expect with a fastball. But when you take a look at that curveball, his perfect region is quite a bit bigger. However, just make sure that you keep in mind a curveball can still be effective even if it's not within that region. So maybe you don't get perfect, but you get good. You know, it still can throw them off, and your accuracy will still be relatively close to that region as well.
So Kyle, does par expand past perfect? Like, can we extrapolate that if I'm not perfect but I'm really good, that maybe it's going to land in a little larger area of that circle? Or am I in the no man's land where I'm not sure where my pitch could end up landing?
No, there's definitely a possibility that you can come close to that perfect region, though, you know, the whole point of our interface is to set our expectations, and we can definitely set that expectation for perfect, but there's a lot of other inputs going on. So, you know, we're only guaranteeing that perfect result for you. But
so that's a great question by Ramon. And you see here, he's not committing that, like, if this is the perfect region for the fastball, this isn't the good region necessarily. That would then depend on the pitch, the pitcher, and you know how good it was, how good the execution was on that, right? I think Greg Maddox's card would still have a pretty good region around there if you miss a little bit, whereas like even Blake, who has high walk rates and can run up his pitches, his would be a little bit more wild, like Dinelson Lamet maybe too, or I mean those are good pitchers that have a little bit of control issue. Think about mediocre to bad pitchers; they're going to have obviously a huge range of where they can go if you don't hit perfect.
know that a good executed pitch will still fall relatively close to that area.
Right. So speaking of pitches, if you're looking at his pitches, and this is something a lot of people might not know, when you're selecting your pitches, they are listed in the order of how often they threw that pitch last year. And that corresponds with basically the effectiveness and how often they threw it. So Blake's fastball, that's the pitch that he threw the most and has the most control with, right, Kyle?
That's correct.
His curveball, that's going to be the last pitch on the list. That's basically telling the user this is the pitch he threw the least and or threw the less strikes with, right, Kyle?
You got it.
And so that's basically letting you know that fourth or fifth pitch. It's really important to really know the guys that you're using and to look in their player card and to go and see what those control ratings are. So you have a better idea of, is this a pitcher who I know he has confidence with all 4 pitches, or is this a pitcher where he has 5 pitches and he only throws his curveball 2 or 3 times a game, and I probably shouldn't spam it?
Exactly. I mean, yeah, think about it, like a Steven Strasburg or Max Scherzer, their 5th pitch was not.
Does that make Silver? No. Not unusable. Again, like they're honestly, every pitcher is inherently more usable now if you're a good pitcher. If you are good at executing, because then you can hit zones, and if you can hit the perfect a lot, you can make them better. Right now, it felt like a free-for-all where no matter what you did, even if you had perfect inputs, the ball's going wherever the heck it wants. But, I'm trying to think like Silver starter like Dallas Keuchel. He's got good command. He's got good control. His zones are probably going to be pretty good. And so you could probably dot with him, even though he's not an overpowering guy or anything, but you're putting the ball exactly where you want. So no, it does not inherently ruin lower and mid and lower tier pitchers at all. If anything, it improves them because it now gives us back some control. I think they were ruined this year where you couldn't really use them because you had no idea where the ball was going. And so I think it goes the other way.
Not going to be the same as maybe a AA player's 5th pitch coming up, so we're highlighting those differences there for sure.
Right. So definitely make sure you check your guys' pitches.
Kazu, that's a great call out. He says, I hope they have pitch by pitch control and accuracy and ratings on player cards this year. The way they talk about it and saying like, go check those ratings, I'm thinking that they're going to, right? Because otherwise, what are they talking about? Because are they promoting Daddy Leagues, a third party website, which was great. Haley, I know, but we're not allowed to talk about that. So I had to pretend that I didn't know that. God damn it, Haley.
Just check their control ratings, their break ratings, because there's a lot of information going on there. And again, what PAR was designed to do was to give you the information to show you if you're perfect on this interface, this is where it's going to land. So let's take a look at Jacob deGrom's pitches.
So here we just wanted to highlight the differences between our 3 meters. Pinpoint is our most accurate, 3 inputs. So definitely a risk reward. You got to.
This might be the biggest shakeup in the entire community. This right here. Look at what's worst among these, for PAR at least. Everyone's favorite pitching control. Not everyone's, I know. I don't care if you... But I use me... Okay, cool. I'm speaking generally. The overall, most people use analog. A lot of people still use meter, and shout to the meter folks. I was meter for a long time. I think I'm switching in 21. Now, I had a dream. I had a dream where I played 21. It was a really vivid dream. I was there, dude. I was playing 21, and I was trying out Pinpoint, and it really felt like I was doing it. Like, I swear it happened, but it didn't, obviously. And so I tried Pinpoint when I was playing 21 in this dream of mine, and it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, and it was super impossible. But I compared it to another thing from a dream that I had back in 20. And again, these are just dreams, so it's like, who knows. But it was a dream I had in like December of 2020, of 2019, where I was playing, and I was playing 20, and I was using the new throw meter, and I threw like 1 million yellow throws on fielding. And I was like, well, I'm the worst. I'm taking off buttons in accuracy this year because I'm the worst. And now that I'm used to it, I don't throw any yellows outside of an occasional mess up. I'm not saying it's going to be that easy to transition. What I'm saying is if you might have had the same dream that I had, because it seems like a lot of people in chat had this same very vivid, very lucid, tactile dream where it felt like they were playing 21 in some sort of scenario, a technical scenario of sorts. If you had that same dream, don't freak out that maybe you weren't good at Pinpoint because it was a very limited sample, and unless you found something that allowed you to know how it worked, a lot of us had no idea how it worked in our group dream that we had, our technical dream. So they explain it more. You're going to need to practice. It's a brand new system that is meant to be very good and meant to reward stick skill. It shouldn't be something that you take out of the box and you just get perfectly right away. So it was hard in that dream, but you have to practice it too. I tried like 100 total pitches in that crazy dream that I had, and I was terrible. But the big takeaway here, off rip at least, is that community's favorite, at least the Twitch and YouTube community's favorite pitching style, analog, rates the worst on par, on the par system. So it may be pushed to the side here with people going back to meter while they figure out Pinpoint.
Be able to master it to throw something on the black spotted up like that. Meter is our sec accurate, and that's because there's a huge asymmetry between under and overthrows in meter, which makes that timing pretty risky, but also very fun.
Yeah, it was almost like showing up to school for like a test type of dream, and like, you know, you're trying out this Pinpoint and you're naked and you're like, oh my god, I'm the worst at this. It was wild. It was that kind of technical dream.
And then analog is our third most accurate, and there's also a timing element that controls over.
Where does this put pulse is a question in the chat if you're watching this on YouTube, because I'm posting, this is from my Twitch stream, twitch.tv/Spore. You could still use pulse, but it's not going to have the par system. These are the only 3 ones that are going to have the par system, so you can still use pulse. If you think about pulse, it kind of already uses that system with the pulsating circle to a degree, right? And if you end up like, if you press the button too soon and it's this big, it can kind of land in that zone already. It's not quite like that. I'm not saying it's a 1-to-1, but it kind of works. It kind of works like having par already. That's why it wasn't highlighted here.
And underthrows as well, but it's not extreme.
Was this stream on February 23rd? It was in February.
A little bit easier.
All right, so that's a lot of information there that people don't know. So what you're basically
y'all had
saying
the same
is
dream
the
in
new
February?
pitching interface, which we're going to do a deep dive in next. Pinpoint pitching. It is, or it can be, the most accurate pitching method for those out there with the best stick skills, and you can see that by the photo. Correct?
Correct. You got it.
Next in line would be
Gomes.
meter.
Thank you
Again,
for the
with
10 months,
meter,
brother. I
it's high and
appreciate
low,
you.
So there's a lot of risk and reward there. And then the least accurate is analog. Correct?
That's correct. And there's not a ton of differentiation, but there is some there. And
Pulse is going to be the move. Watch. No.
balance between
Pinpoint's going to be the
inputs.
move if you can figure it out. It's going to be really hard, but it's rewarding. It should be difficult, right? They can't just give it to us. So it's going to be difficult to figure out and learn, and I am very intimidated by it right now. But I also want to learn. I asked for the ability to be great at pitching. They've now offered that.
And difficulty in executing those and result.
I mean,
Right. And Brian,
we all asked for it, so just because it's hard doesn't mean they didn't deliver. We can't say make classic pitching the easiest so I can just hit a button.
a lot of work making sure that every single pitching and hitting method in the game is balanced, and that's
yes,
why
this
we're
is like
showing you
2K.
this slide here. We have spent a ton of time, well, not me, Brian has spent a ton of time balancing this out. And so we also want to thank you for everybody who played in the tech test and tried out Pinpoint pitching and all the pitching methods for helping us out to try to make sure this is as balanced as possible. And like we always do, once the game's out, we will listen to feedback, we will look at the data and make the changes that are necessary and that make sense. So let's talk about the brand new pitching method, Pinpoint
Here we
pitching,
go.
the new pitching method that was teased in our early Coach and Fernando Tatis Jr. videos, and it was also in the technical medical test. So Kyle, what is pinpoint pitching and why did we put it in the game this year?
Okay, so maybe I said par was my favorite feature, but I think pinpoint might be. I love how challenging it is, the risk reward, how it changes pitcher to pitcher. So pinpoint is our new way to pitch. It combines a little bit of meter, a little analog, and a new specific motion that you're going to be performing with your R stick. You're going to be rated on our GERD system, gesture performance, release timing, and direction of your release. This generates 3 inputs compared to our usual 1 or 2 with other interfaces. And if all 3 are performed right, you're going to generate a perfect release with very, very high accuracy.
All right, so it is the hardest pitching method, but it is also the most accurate. So there's that balance that we're always trying to find in gameplay stuff, right, Kyle?
Absolutely, absolutely. Risk reward.
All right, so let's break it down. Pinpoint pitching, how does this interface work?
So the first thing you're going to notice as you aim your pitch, that arrow and circle on the bottom will move left or right in relation to the ball placement within the zone. And this location will be important when you finish your pitching motion. Next, you're going to see the preview inside the interface. Each pitch type has a distinct motion that needs to be performed at the same speed as the preview. That's super important. You got to perform that pitch gesture motion at the same speed as the preview, which correlates to the pitch motion of the pitcher on the mound. So that's a really cool aspect because it's going to change
winning, son?
pitcher to pitcher.
I'm just reviewing a video right now, so I'm winning at that. Yes.
It's known as the gesture rating. And then after you
as someone pointed out, I knew when I looked at this word that it looked wrong, but it didn't click where. This says gesture rating. It's new. You're guessing and gesturing at the same time. It's a gesture.
begin that motion, you're going to see some timing mechanics pop up. And this is a really nuanced part of this interface, so you're definitely going to want to pay attention to the way it works. So this timing mechanic, as you begin your motion,
Shreen, yeah, you have to get 3 parts right. It is the hardest, but that's why it is the most rewarding. Like, it makes sense, right? Like, I don't know. I feel like you're kind of dismissing it without really getting in there and trying it and even giving yourself an opportunity to get used to it. You're kind of eliminating it as impossible without being worth the reward. I really think, because if you screw it up, you have to guess where the ball will go. Exactly. So I don't know. I think it's good. It's the risk reward thing, right? If you put in the time and you do the work, it's going to reward you. It's going to be hard out of the box, as it should be though, because it's giving us what we want. I don't want the game to just be super easy. Then practicing and playing and being good doesn't matter at that point, right? So yes, it is difficult, but it will be rewarding, and I'm at least going to give it a real shake before I say, screw this, I'm going to meter. I'm going to really put in the work on pinpoint and try to be good, because I love pitching. And that was my biggest bummer of this year's game, was my best asset was taken out. Now, you can't be a top player, and I'm not talking like top 0.5% like Kyle and Rebel and those studs. They're monsters. But you can't, like, I'll just say World Series, which is still a pretty small percentage, by the way, even though I know thousands make it. That's still a very small percentage. But you can't be that level of player without hitting to some degree. And we know that, right? But in past years, you could be pitching first with the hitting tacked on. This year, if you couldn't hit consistently, you're going nowhere. And that was the tough part for me. It was that none of my pitching skill of feeling like I know how to set players up and execute, that went by the wayside. This is bringing it back. Smiz, thank you so much for the resub, brother. I appreciate it. Schmoogity, thank you for the follow as well.
Pops up at the 12 o'clock position, and all of your pitches will finish at this 12 o'clock position. The gears, you'll notice, are blue. They'll begin to rotate and start to close in on one another in an effort to help you keep the right timing with your motion. Your ideal timing for...
Healy says you only need to get 2 of the 3 inputs perfect to get the par for pinpoint. So you don't even have to execute all 3 things. So there you go. The speed things... Yeah, no. Schmoogity, it is daunting. It is very intimidating off rip. But I think that's what's going to make it great. Smiz, thank you so much for the 23 months. I really appreciate that. Waffles with the 9 months. Man, I've been having a lot of Twitch babies lately. I'm taking care of none of them. I'm sorry. Nerf football when they're 7. That's my standard line. That's what you're getting. I'll come back into the picture if they become famous, but otherwise, absentee father right here.
Perfect.
Thank you
timing
so
would be
much,
when
Waffles.
those
I appreciate
rings
you on
are
9 months.
overlapped on one another, giving the appearance that there's really just one ring there. You'll notice some dynamically colored feedback along the way that will help you keep pace as well. We're trying to give you as many possible ways to make sure that you have perfect timing. Green is good, on time. Yellow means that you need to slow down a little bit, and red means you're failing.
Right, so timing is key here. And when you pick your pitch, it's going to start the cycle so you can get that timing down. So we're going to give you that preview of the timing that you're trying to match, right?
Right, and it's definitely not an easy thing to master. This is definitely a more experienced, a more competitive mechanic, but one that rewards you because of that. Once you get that 12 o'clock position, there's going to be another timing mechanic that shows up exactly where you placed your arrow and circle at the bottom just before executing your pitch. Again, the ideal timing is when those rings overlap or the appearance is just one ring. And so the execution of this release pit will be known as your release timing. And again, a really cool factor in this is that each pitcher has a distinct pitch timing and motion. And so Kershaw in his windup, you're gonna have to sit a little bit at a
Kershaw
time.
gonna be
It's take a
tough,
little bit of
dude.
patience and trial and error. Whereas someone coming straight out of the stretch is gonna be a quick, like 1 second. So it's gonna take something to master, but that's exactly what we were looking for out of it.
Okay, and the gestures change per pitch type, correct?
Correct. Fastball, 4-seam fastball, straight up and down being the easiest with all of the other
Train. I'm not suggesting you're being ignorant. If I came across like that, that's not what I'm saying. Dismissive, I guess, would have been the word. That I'm like, I think that we all need to give it like a pretty strong look before we decide that it's not going to be worth it to do it. But hey, if you decide early, that's fine too. That's the beauty, is that they have 3 different types. You can stick with analog if you want. Like, you know, some people, I think like Darius Tapscott, like he hits like 900 batting average. He doesn't care if he gives up runs. You score 5 in the first, he scores 9. Like, who cares? So he'll keep using analog. He doesn't really care because the pitching, it doesn't matter to him. And there's a lot of players that can do that sort of stuff. But those of us that want to be pitching first, I think we're going to put in the time to see if we can master this pinpoint and really hone in on how good it can be.
It's having intricate motions.
And this is where the strategy comes in, right? And what we're trying to really replicate here is what's happening on the mound in real life, where 9 times out of 10, a guy's best pitch is his fastball, right?
Absolutely.
That's going to be the easiest pitch he can throw and locate. And then as you're going down the line, those secondary pitches gets a little bit dicier, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you get down, the gesture for the curveball is probably the hardest. Actually, is the gesture for the curveball the hardest?
It is one of the hardest. I think I'd have to go with splitter, or maybe, it would be the splitter for sure. It's definitely the toughest.
Y'all, check out this splitter one right here. This is nutty.
Okay, all right, so split is the toughest, all right.
By far. And
it goes
another
and then comes
pinpoint
back,
that's
dude.
pretty cool is if you think of a pitcher in real life, they have a lot of things that they're trying to think about. Their pitch grip, runners on base if possible, trying to keep themselves in sync and in time. And
as Kyle's talking about, there's a million things that a pitcher's trying to execute to put together a good pitch. That's what makes pitching so difficult and so beautiful when it's done well. And between mechanics, arm slot, release point, grip, there's just so much. It's unreal.
So that's exactly what you're trying to do on the mound. You're trying to manage all these inputs while executing a pitch correctly. And I can tell you from experience, I'm pitching a phenomenal game, and I have to...
Milkman, splitter is looking like the combo for a Mortal Kombat fatality. I remember learning Mortal Kombat fatalities. Absolutely. Why'd they put the circle change and change different when the two-seamer sinker? Two-seamers and sinkers are closer than circle changes and standard change-ups, in my opinion. Plus, two-seamer sinkers are fastballs, and there's only so many things that you can really do for a fastball. You don't want to complicate. Those are supposed to be the easiest pitches to execute. So I think kind of clustering those made sense.
Switch
they could have done the same thing for circle and change up, but I don't mind that they made it a little. Oh wait, never mind. I misread you. Yeah, they are the same motion. They didn't have to do that. Sorry. I completely misread you. Yeah, they're literally the same thing. I thought it was a little different maybe for the circle than it was for the standard change up. Yeah, watch. They're literally the same, and they could have just bunched it together like they did two-seam sinker. Not the end of the world, but kind of funny.
Pitcher too, and it's a really cool aspect of this interface.
Literally the
Pitching into
same.
major leagues is very hard.
Yeah, get good.
That's why those guys make the big bucks.
Yeah.
So that is pinpoint pitching. Let's look at gameplay and see how we can do this live. All right, so we are jumping into gameplay here, looking at Snellzilla pitching in that great new San Diego Padres uniform. So we have swing analysis. We also have pitch analysis.
So
Here, looking at Snellzilla pitching in
looking for an up and in heater.
that great new
Gets 84%
San
accuracy,
Diego Padres uniform.
and that goes in the area of where he wanted it because 84% accuracy is pretty good. That was a pretty good one.
So we have swing analysis. We also have pitch analysis. Or is it even
This one's trying to be down below the
called
zone.
pitch analysis, Kyle?
Yeah, you know what, you can.
94%
I'm
accuracy.
okay with that.
Okay, so
Right
what
where
is
he
pitch
wanted it to
analysis?
be.
What are we
Beautiful
looking at that's
pitch.
popping up on the left side of the gesture?
Okay, so what you're seeing in descending order is your gesture accuracy grade.
That's a great call out too, Jamie. The pitch speed ranges right there in the game. 93 to 97 on the fastball, 86 to 90, 85 to 90, 78 to 82. Love that. That is freaking huge.
Grade, your release timing grade.
You got this one there. It's supposed to be kind of down and away.
And your
68%
direction grade.
accuracy.
Each box will change colors
So it's up in a
dynamically
way.
depending on your result, with
That
green
makes
being
sense.
good, yellow okay, and red has failed. And we're trying to give you as many possible ways to absorb this information, whether it be colors or actual numbers, to interpret how you're doing and performing the mechanic.
Right.
And so in that top accuracy box, you're going to see that we display your percentage accuracy for performing that specific gesture. There's some different thresholds between fastballs and off speeds that you can be aware of. In that
What
second
season
box
was
is
that
our
for
timing
Nolan?
portion, and we're displaying within hundredths of a second, and we let you know if you're early or late. And I should also take note on the accuracy portion, we also do let you know if you're going too fast or too slow. So another chance for you to see how you're performing on that mechanic.
So much
as you're
information
pitching
to work
in real
with.
time, we're giving you feedback
Too
so you
fast.
can get better in real time as you're trying to strike guys out and induce ground and fly balls, right?
You got it. You got it. And then that bottom portion right there is your direction grade, and will tell you how many degrees off you were of your intended target.
Right. And was that a perfect I saw? Is that perfect pitching now?
There is perfect pitching.
Is it perfect pitching in only pinpoint, or does it transfer to the other interfaces?
Nope. Hey, that's par for you. We got it on all three of those: pinpoint,
So
analog, and meter.
That is awesome. And again, yes, pinpoint pitching is the
Look at
most
these
complicated.
dots, man.
It has the biggest learning curve, but it is also the most accurate. So the best competitors in MLB The Show 21, this is the pitching interface you're going to want to try to master, right?
Totally. It definitely is. It comes with its challenges, but it rewards you because of them. So, I'm using it. I'll tell you that.
Nice. So we've talked about
I mean, I think it would just depend, Ogman. There is no guaranteed winner. Beautiful pitches get hit all the time for home runs. So, I mean, it's hard to say.
pinpoint pitching, and we've talked about feedback. You know what? We also talked a little bit about practice. You're going to need to practice this.
This is huge. All the Allen Iverson jokes aside, this is huge.
So how can users not only practice pitching,
Well, hitting. Exactly. You if you go perfect pitch and they hit it, you have to tip your cap, because hitting's harder, and executing that. I mean, as a real life thing, specifically is what I'm talking about. You can only do what you can do. Like, there's no guarantees with a perfect pitch, because perfect only means that's where you wanted to put it. If that's where they're looking and that's what they jump on, I think perfect hit would probably win more often. You might still get an out, is what I mean. Obviously, if they're perfect hitting it, they're still hitting something. They're still hitting it hard, but you could get into an out, but you're only going to get that 16% of the time.
what about hitting? Have we done anything to practice modes?
We have done a little bit to both, which I'm really excited
This
about.
is my
I myself
this might be my
need
favorite
to
thing, to be
practice,
honest.
And so what better way to work on these new interfaces or work on your areas of weakness and hop into the new batting practice and bullpen session areas.
This batting
and custom
practice is so
With the
good.
batting practice.
Look at this. Now you can pick the pitches and the zones that you want. This is so good. This is so huge. A lot of top players, to warm up, they just go in on the current practice mode that we have on Legend, fired up like against the Yankees. They can start with Cole, and then they go to Chapman. Just huge heaters from, well, mostly, right? Because, they can throw whatever they want. But just great pitches from two of the best pitchers in baseball. Ideally, you would just get like the heaters from them. Yes, it's coming, but you better believe it still helps to just get the timing down for a bunch of heaters. Because how often have you been in a game where you're sitting 3-1 heater, it's coming, and they still gas you because you don't have that timing down? That happens a lot to most of us. And this allows you to get in there and practice and then actually be more ready for it once you jump into your game. So for me, my practice sessions are going to be jumping in, grabbing it versus, DeGrom or Chapman if I want to face righty or lefty. I'll put all zones on for fastball, but maybe I'll do fastball and sinker and just let it go to town on fastballs to get my timing right before I jump into games. And that's really what you're trying to do. But this is absolutely fantastic. Yayo coming in with the raid. Let's go. Thank you so much. And J-Bell with the 11 months. How are you, man? Thank you. Welcome, welcome. Yayo coming around that corner. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Welcome, everybody.
You're allowed.
So this is a massive win.
Pitcher's repertoire and force pitch location. So this is pretty awesome because it gives you each user the opportunity.
Me too, Tay. How you doing, bud?
Exactly what you're bad at. Maybe it's off speeds down. Maybe it's fastballs up and in. You can dial in one of those 3 zones and go right for it as long as you need. And similarly with the bullpen session and working on your pinpoint, it's going to take a lot of practice just to get a good handle on it, way to execute it. And custom practice is the perfect spot, stress-free, to get a feel for the rhythm, to try to keep yourself in sync. And these are just
oh my God, that's beautiful.
Right. In a new custom practice edition, this goes back to, we're always listening to feedback. I mean, if we have the time and the resources, we're always going to try to attack those soft spot areas based on the feedback from the community. And these new custom practice editions are just that.
That's amazing, Yayo.
For years, like, look, I can't hit a high and inside fastball. I want to be able to go into practice mode and just practice on high and inside fastballs and nothing else. And you can do that now, right?
Yep, you can.
Yes, I mean, this is just huge, and it doesn't have to be fastball timing, which I think that's the best use for it personally, but that's for me. If you're not good at sliders, you can just have them pump you sliders all day at different zones or a particular zone. And yeah, it's coming, but that doesn't mean that it's not useful practice, because you're just trying to get the timing down to get better when you are sitting on a particular pitch. And so I really, really think that this is such a massive win here. And of course, this is also where you can come in and practice your pinpoint pitching as well. Yayo, thank you so much for the 6 months, brother. I really appreciate you. You can go eat, enjoy your dinner, bud.
Absolutely do that. And it's something I love. I spend a lot of time in there.
Emptiness. That's a good question. If you could adjust, one would be cool if you could adjust velo in Home Run Derby and if you could use created parks, but I just don't know if the created parks are going to be in online yet.
Or I get into any games now when I'm playing on 21, and it's pretty.
Clay, I doubt you could do that, but you could pick the 2 separate zones and the 2 pitches. Clay asks, can you pick 2 separate zones for 2 different pitches, like fastball in, slider away? You can pick away and in and fastball and slider, but they might have some sliders in and some fastballs away. So I don't know that you can get that specific with it. That would be pretty cool. But if you really wanted to, you could just do 20 fastballs in, pause it, change it to 20 sliders away, and go back and forth like that. I know what you're saying, and it would be cool is if you wanted just those together, a mix of them, and that way you didn't know what was coming. But I don't know if you can do that without then still maybe getting fastballs away and sliders in.
Cool. It kind of warms me up for the day, gets my timing down, so it's pretty nice.
Right. So we got force pitch type, force location, and free practice. And you can use all of the pitching interfaces. You can use all of the hitting interfaces, and you can set up different scenarios to basically give you anything you need to be able to try to get better at the game.
Yeah.
Like with me playing last year online, when people would bring in flamethrowers, I'm like, oh, I'm done. So now you
Same.
can go in there and you can just practice against guys who are throwing 100 all the time.
Yep.
To try to get that timing down.
Yeah, and something really cool is that you can change your gameplay style settings in the options. So you can be in custom practice and see what pinpoint's like on competitive, and then switch to casual and see how pinpoint is a little bit easier.
That's cool
for the casual users when you're there. So it's a pretty cool way
like
to highlight
that.
multiple different facets of the game that we've added in this year.
That's awesome. So we've talked a lot about pitching and hitting. We've introduced gameplay styles, broke those down. We've talked about pitching and hitting changes. We introduced par. We've broken down pinpoint pitching, and we just went over the new custom practice edition. Is there anything we're missing, Kyle?
Let's see, we adjusted some more swing timing extremes for worst cases on all of our pitches. Always take a look at bunts, both sacks and bunts for hits. Like we mentioned earlier, improvements to perfect, improvements to any foul balls on perfect as well. And then a few changes to base running, just making sure when you're trying to target those bases that the right runners are heading home or heading back to the base, just like you would have intended.
That's awesome. And I think that is going to bring us really close to the end of the first feature premiere, but we are not done. First, I want to thank gameplay producer Kyle Saw joining us, but we got a legend reveal. Roll a video.
This was so great. Such a great troll. Right here, I'm like, DJ, dude, Jeter. Oh my God, they got Jeter. They're dropping Jeter off the bat. This is insane. I can't believe it's Jeter off rip. Now, I'm not a Yankees fan, so I don't really care. And I got to be honest, the twist, I loved it. I mean, that's Jeter right there, and then obviously you see 26, but that looks like him so much before you see the 6. Then it pans up, and I don't know if it's Glaber or LeMahieu, but it doesn't matter because, and even a little like Jeter would not be playing second base, but maybe that's part of the troll, and you're like, maybe that's him, and then no, it's the actual legend. That's Tino, right? Look at that stud. That's one of my top players that I wanted in the game. That's one of my the pitchers were first. Pedro's like my number 1, but Soriano's like top 3 on my most desired. I loved Alfonso Soriano when he played. So this is huge. We talked about this already on stream, so if you were here, sorry for the repeat, but this is for the YouTube video. The difference in card variety for Soriano is massive. There's diamond, gold, and silver potential with the Yankees. Nats is when he had his 40-40 season, and the Cubs. So this is a great addition here. There's going to be a lot of flexibility. Plus, there's second base and outfield with maybe some extra qualifying positions. Like he'll play a little bit of third and a little bit of like right field or whatever. So I love this. This is awesome. First off, it was an amazing troll. I think that was just a brilliant troll. I do think we're going to get Jeter. I don't think it's a guarantee, but I feel pretty strongly that they're doing that troll to then pay off at the end, that we do indeed get him. But it was an S tier troll. It was perfect. It was so good. But I'm very happy with the result. To be honest, I personally prefer Soriano to Jeter, so I didn't even mind it. And not only did I get an amazing laugh out of the troll, but I got a player that I much prefer. So this was a win here for sure. Sori's a badass.
And there he is, Alfonso Soriano, the first of a few legend reveals that we will be doing during the feature premieres. That is it for the pitching and hitting feature premiere. Thank you again.
All right, that'll do it. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. If you did watch this on YouTube, please leave a like. Subscribe to the channel. Got a lot more content coming up with 21 coming out very soon. Come over to twitch.tv/Spore. We're going to be watching all of these on the simulcast whenever SDS shows these feature premieres. We've got a bunch coming up. Of course, they're doing DD last. They gotta make us wait for it, but that's all right. Lots coming up. This was awesome. This was a lot of great stuff already to look forward to. And I'm just beyond excited for 21. And I know we're still over a month away, but we will bide our time, and we'll